Unit 2.02, Digital Art. In this lesson, you will learn about digital art and computer graphics. You will also learn about the hardware and software used for creating digital art and about the difference between raster and vector graphic images. Objectives: differentiate between raster and vector graphic images, describe the hardware for creating digital art, and describe the types of software for creating digital art. The safe path. Others told Cheryl Foster that her artwork was a hobby. She listened to them at first but regretted it later. In this video, Foster talks about how important it is to find the work you love early and do it, but not as a hobby.
This is not a hobby for me. This is me. This is me. Turpentine and oil, hot glue gun, that's what's running through my veins. I didn't know that at your age. I was a real estate appraiser for 20 years, in a suit, in a car, using the side of my brain that doesn't even exist anymore. That's been fried, but it paid my bills. I suffered. I took the safe path. I regret it. I was with someone who told me, that's a hobby. We need to be bringing in the money. Right now is the best time of your life to do any exploration because no one's going to suffer but you.
Pause this video and take a moment to Google Cheryl Foster's artwork. Keep going. Foster regrets following someone else's advice and not pursuing a career in art from the beginning. Think about the career path you are planning to follow. Then complete these sentences when you're finished. Put the sentences away. Take them out once in a while and see if your ideas have changed. I want a career in blank because blank. I want a career in blank, but I don't want a career in blank because I don't want a career in blank, but digital art vocabulary. Digital art, a type of visual art that's created using computers and computer-related tools. It is sometimes called computer art. For example, his love of both art and computers led him to a career in digital art. Pointing device, a computer hardware component that enables the user to move an on-screen pointer. For example, a mouse is the most common type of pointing device. Other options include touchpads and trackballs. Graphics tablet, a computer input device that an artist can draw on to make images on a computer screen. For example, a graphics tablet can be helpful to an artist who is accustomed to drawing with a pencil. Stylus, an electronic pen that interacts with a graphic tablet to translate a human's drawing actions to an on-screen marks. Example, use a stylus as you would an ink pen or pencil when you draw on a graphics tablet. Touchscreen, a touch-sensitive display screen serving both input and output functions. For example, on a PC with a touch screen, you can draw directly on the screen with a stylus or your finger. Printer, a device that translates an on-screen image from a computer to a printed sheet of paper. For example, to share your work with friends on paper, output a copy of it to your printer. 3D printer, a printer that creates three-dimensional models of objects from technical drawings created in illustration applications. For example, before we began manufacturing the item, we created a model of it with a 3D printer. Raster graphics, computer graphic images that are made up of pixels. For example, photos you take with your digital camera or smartphone are raster graphics. Here's an example of raster graphics. When you're looking at the image, it looks smooth, but when you zoom in, you can see all of the little pixels or rasters. These are also called bitmaps. Pixels, the tiny colored dots in an image or text character you see on a computer screen. For example, a typical digital photo contains millions of pixels. Resolution, the number of pixels that make up an image represented as width by height. For example, the resolution of this digital photo is 2,272 by 1,704. Megapixel, a million pixels. Mega, a million. My camera takes 4 megapixel images. Color depth, the number of bits required to describe the color and value of each pixel in an image. For example, a 24-bit color depth produces a fairly realistic image. Bit, a binary digit. For example, there are 8 bits in a byte. Vector graphics, computer graphic images made up of geometric shapes such as points, curves, and lines. For example, a computer uses math equations to store the lines and shapes in vector graphics. So with vector graphics, you're basically taking a point and an endpoint and drawing a line or a curve, okay, with your pen tool. And what that means is that because it's a mathematical formula that connects the 2 points, it doesn't matter how large you make it, you will never see pixels, okay? But with raster graphics, you're painting pixels. You're changing the color of pixels on your screen. So when you blow it up, you're going to see those pixels. So you can see the image on the left is the raster graphic, and the image on the right is the vector, okay? Scalable means that it's resizable without loss of quality. So vector graphics are scalable graphics, and that's where our extension .svg comes from. Scalable vector graphics. For example, vector graphics are scalable, which means they look good at any size. Computer-generated imagery, CGI, images created using a computer usually associated with digital animation. Computer-generated imagery is used to create many children's movies. Page layout software, software that is used to compose pages to be printed, such as for magazines. For example, we use page layout software to create a brochure that combined graphics and text. Animation software, software that is used to create vector-based digital animation sequences. For example, animated movies and TV shows are much less time-consuming to create with animation software than by hand. Web publishing software, software that is used to simplify the creation of websites. For example, we used web publishing software to design the club's website. Graphic design, the use of visual elements to communicate a message. For example, graphic design is used to communicate ideas in print, on the web, and in advertising. Composition, the arrangement of different art elements to communicate a single idea. The composition of the advertisement made it visually appealing to customers or consumers. Digital illustration, the use of computers to draw or paint images to go along with text such as stories, poems, or articles. For example, digital illustration is used in comic books to help tell a story. Image manipulation, the process of using a computer to modify and edit photos and other images to make them look different. For example, the magazine editor used image manipulation to make the celebrity look younger. Computer-aided design, the design of objects or environments with the help of computers, often abbreviated as CAD. For example, engineers and architects use computer-aided design in their work. Digital art is a type of visual art that's created using computers and computer-related tools. Digital art is sometimes called computer art or computer-based art. Digital art is not just for professionals. Almost anyone can create simple art projects using a computer. Some examples of digital art projects include designing graphical flyers and newsletters, making a logo for a team or business, editing digital photos, creating conceptual drawings. To create digital art, you need a computer and some digital art software. We'll focus on computer hardware next. Computer is the digital artist's most important tool. The other tools, such as software and input devices, all require a computer to function. As computer technology has changed, computers have become more powerful and affordable. As a result, the tools needed for creating digital art have become available to more and more people. Software for creating digital art is available for nearly every type of computing device, including smartphones. Not every art program will require a state-of-the-art system. However, many artists prefer using a computer with these qualities: a screen that's large enough that you can easily see your work, a touchscreen interface so you can draw directly with a stylus or digital pen, plenty of storage space so you can store lots of art projects, a generous amount of system memory so there is little or no delay in the application as you use it, a high-quality display adapter so there is little or no delay between drawing something and having it appear on the screen. This is mostly important when creating larger, more complicated drawings in professional applications. System memory requirements will depend on the application. A simple application such as Inkscape has very low requirements for memory, allowing it to run quickly on slower hardware. A professional application requires more memory to complete more complex work. Screen. For digital artists, a large, high-quality screen is important. Being able to see their work clearly without straining helps them work, and high-end screens typically will reproduce color in a more accurate way. Some artists even use multiple monitors at once to create an even larger workspace. Having multiple monitors also allows an artist to work on their project on one screen while other applications run on the other screen. For this course, any screen will do. You don't need a large screen or multiple monitors. However, as an online student, I do recommend that if possible, your family try to find an inexpensive second monitor that you can use. It's very easy to set up, and that allows you to be able to watch instructional tutorials in one window as you're working in Inkscape in the other window. And that helps you with other facets too, such as when you're trying to take a test or a quiz and you want to try to find the answers. It's so much easier having two screens. It's very easy to set up. You can often find very inexpensive second monitors at pawn shops. Pointing devices enable you to move an on-screen pointer to control an art program and other tasks within the computer's operating system. Pointing devices utilize the application's tool to draw, paint, and edit artwork. A mouse is the most common type of pointing device. When you move the mouse across the desk or mouse pad, the pointer moves a corresponding amount on screen. A mouse has at least one button on top that allows you to click and interact with items. A trackball is another type of pointing device. A trackball base stays stationary and you roll a ball on its top to move the pointer on screen. You can use the buttons on the side of its base to click. Many laptops have built-in touchpads. A touchpad is a touch-sensitive rectangular pad that functions as a compact pointing device. You drag your fingers across the pad to move the pointer and tap to click. Graphics tablets and touch screens. A graphics tablet is a computer input device that an artist can draw on to make images on a computer screen. Artists draw on a graphics tablet with a stylus, which is a pen-like device that an artist might use with a graphics tablet or touch screen. A stylus is shaped like a pen or pencil, but doesn't make marks on its own. Graphics tablets give an artist more detailed control while drawing than a mouse does. Because moving the stylus across a tablet moves a corresponding pointer across the computer screen, it can also function as a pointing device for normal computer tasks. Graphics tablets are pressure sensitive, which means that the harder an artist presses down with a stylus, the darker the lines will be in the drawing program. Some graphics tablets are also angle sensitive, which means they can respond to changes in the angle that the stylus is being held while drawing. A touchscreen is like a graphics tablet that is built into the display. Rather than drawing with a stylus on a separate pad, the artist can draw directly on the display screen. Many artists prefer touchscreens to graphic tablets, as drawing on a touchscreen generally feels as natural as using a pen and paper. As touchscreens have become more popular, graphics tablets have become less popular, but they're still used by many artists today. Printer translates on-screen image to a printed sheet of paper. There are many different print technologies available. The two most common ones are inkjet and laser printing. Inkjet, the image is formed by nozzles squirting liquid ink onto the paper. Inkjet printers are inexpensive, but the replacement ink cartridges are expensive. Laser, the image is formed by powdered toner applied to the paper and then melted to affix it. Laser printers are more expensive than inkjets, but the overall cost is lower because toner is less expensive than ink on a per-page basis. 3D printers are also becoming more widespread in use. A 3D printer can build a three-dimensional model out of plastic or other materials based on a 3D drawing from an illustration application. Fill in the blank. A stylus is a pen-like device that an artist might use with a graphics tablet or touch screen. A pointing, I might have gone to question 3, sorry. A pointing device enables you to move an on-screen pointer to control an art program. A touch screen is like a graphics tablet that is built into the computer's display. Raster and vector graphics. There are two main types of computer graphics used in digital art, raster graphics and vector graphics. Raster graphics, also called bitmap graphics, are computer images that are made up of pixels. Pixels are tiny colored dots that make up the images and text that you see on your computer screen. Digital photos are examples of raster graphics. Vector graphics are images made up of geometric shapes such as points, curves, and lines. The computer uses mathematical equations to define the relationships between these shapes, but as an artist, you won't need to see or use those math equations yourself. Inkscape is a vector graphics software program. You'll learn more about raster and vector graphics now. Raster graphics are commonly used for photographs and other realistic looking images because it's easy to capture realistic detail using pixels. When you take a photo with a digital camera or scan an existing photo with a scanner, an array of photosensitive cell captures the image. It measures the light and color of millions of individual photos on the image and records each one as a pixel with a numeric value. Common applications for work with raster graphics include Adobe Photoshop, Paint Shop Pro, and Paint 3D, GIMP, your Metabang, Paint Pro, Fire Alpaca are programs that you might be using that are raster graphics, and you're getting into Inkscape and going, uh-oh, this is totally different. Raster graphic file size. Because a raster graphic file must store data for millions of pixels, raster graphic files tend to take up a lot of storage space. This is one of its main drawbacks. The amount of storage space an image requires is based on two factors: its resolution and its color depth. Resolution is the number of pixels that make up an image. For example, an image might be 2,272 pixels wide by 1,704 pixels tall, resulting in 3,871,488 pixels in total. This image's resolution would be written as, my goodness, the width by the height. Digital cameras are sometimes described by the maximum number of pixels they can capture in an image, expressed in megapixels or millions of pixels. For example, a 3.8 megapixel camera captures images that are 3.8 million pixels in size, which is essentially what we're seeing up here, right? Color depth is the number of bits or binary digits required to describe the color and value of each pixel. A common color depth is 24-bit. In 24-bit color depth, 8 bits are used for each of the three colors: red, green, and blue. In other words, for each pixel, the amount of each of those three colors is represented by an 8-bit binary value, which means there can be up to 256 different values. Raster graphic resizing. Another drawback of raster graphics is that they lose quality when they are resized, especially when they are enlarged. Raster graphics can become fuzzy when enlarged because the number of pixels increases. The original pixels were captured from the actual source, so they are accurate. However, when the image editing software adds more pixels, it only has the existing pixel information to draw from. It therefore averages the colors and values of the adjacent pixels to determine the new pixels' colors and values. This process is not exact, and it results in decreased sharpness. For similar reasons, curved or diagonal lines in a raster graphic can become noticeably jagged when resized, especially in small images. Which is the reason why when you go out to Google and find images as sources of inspiration for your projects or images that you plan to manipulate, always get large images so that you don't end up with pixelated images. Vector graphics are based on mathematical equations for the curves, points, and lines of a shape. Therefore, vector graphics are scalable, which means they do not lose their quality when resized. When you resize a vector graphic, the computer changes the numbers in the equations and recalculates the relationships between points. As a result, resized images do not become blurry or jagged. Drawbacks of vector graphics. The main drawback of vector graphics is that they cannot match raster graphics in realism. Think about the difference, for example, between a computer-generated imagery CGI movie and a live-action movie with real actors. The CGI graphics are like vector graphics, and the live-action movie graphics are like raster graphics. However, as vector graphic technology advances and becomes more sophisticated, the visible difference between vector and raster graphics becomes less obvious, especially when the vector graphics are created by skilled professionals. Inkscape and Adobe Illustrator are examples of software programs that use vector graphics. You'll use Inkscape to make vector graphics throughout this course. Graphic file formats. As you might expect, vector and raster graphics have very different file formats. However, there are many different graphics file formats within those two broad categories as well. Why are there so many different formats? One reason is that certain applications have their own proprietary format. For example, Adobe Illustrator files use an AI format. AI stands for Adobe Illustrator. Other graphics applications use common, standardized formats. Many applications support a wide variety of formats you can choose from when saving your work. Another reason there are so many formats is that different formats offer specific abilities and features. For example, JPEG includes a compression feature that helps shrink the file size. Ping allows certain pixels to be transparent so that you can place the image on a colored background and the background color shows through in certain spots. GIF formats supports simple animation. You can save several variants of a graphic in a single file. When the graphic is placed on a web page or viewed in certain other applications, it cycles through the graphics, creating an animated image. You can often tell a file's format by looking at its file extension. A file extension is a code, usually 2 or 3 letters, that follows the file name, and it's a suffix. It comes at the end. The file name and its extension are separated by a period. For example, in the file name myfile.ai, my file is the name and AI is the extension. Tip: if you don't see file extensions for your files in Windows, select the View tab in File Explorer and mark the File Name Extensions checkbox, which we talked about in Unit 1. The Inkscape application you will use in this course saves files in a format called Scalable Vector Graphics, so you will see .svg at the end of your Inkscape files. Which type of graphic image gets fuzzy and jagged when it is resized larger than its original size? Raster. Which type of graphic is created using mathematical equations? Vector. Which type of file stores data about individual pixels? Raster. Which type of graphic provides the most realistic images? Raster.